In this video, we'll discuss materials and settings spreadsheets and how the two are related. These are important concepts to understand as you get working in ProNest LT. So up to this point in the video series, we've looked at setting a material for a new job. To review, on the File tab, click the New page, and when you're starting a new job, over on the right is where you'd select a material. Once material is set for the job, it shows up at the bottom of the main window in the status bar. So for this job, I have mild steel 0.25 inch, and the class is set to 65 amp shielded for my particular plasma setup. So why is it important to apply a material in ProNest? The first reason is that cutting parameters and other settings are applied based on the material that you select. This includes things like feed rate, kerf compensation, part separation values on the nest, lead-ins and lead-outs. The list goes on and on. There are a lot of different settings that vary based on material. So one example of this is leads. As material gets thicker, the lead-in length tends to get longer. So the pierce is more violent with more top spatter, and it needs to be further away from the profile that you're leading into. Another example might be feed rate. So feed rate tends to differ based on thickness. Thicker material may require a slower feed rate in order to achieve a good quality cut. Okay, another reason for applying material is for costing reasons. So material is used to generate costing figures for parts and nests. Now let's talk about spreadsheets. So there are a lot of different settings pages in ProNest that use spreadsheets. And those spreadsheets are used in order to apply the settings based on the material, as well as some other things like profile size. So let's take a look at how that works. I'll open the settings dialog. And up at the top underneath machine, my primary cut process, plasma cut, is listed. So you can double click that. And here are all the process specific settings pages. So these all can use spreadsheets. Let's select process parameters. Process parameters are used for applying the cutting parameters that will be used in output. So this is things like feed rate and kerf. Also, it controls the separation distances on the nest for parts. So I have a spreadsheet called out here. Let's click this edit button in order to look at it. Okay, that will just open it up in your default spreadsheet editor. I'm using Microsoft Excel. And here's a look at the process parameters spreadsheet. So the three columns on the left are keys, and these are used for record matching. That's the material, thickness, and class columns. There are some other columns that you can also use as keys. But basically, the goal when using spreadsheets is to pick a single row to get values from. So this contains all of the material, thickness, and class combinations that are available to me in ProNest LT. So when I start that new job and set a material, my choices are based on what appears in this spreadsheet when I'm using a process parameters spreadsheet. Okay, so in this job I've selected MS 0.25 and the class is 65 amp shielded. That would be this record right here, row 18. So the values in row 18 will be used when I output the job. So my feed rate will be 100 inches per minute, kerf compensation is 0.07, and so on. If I were to change the material for the job, let's suppose I changed it to MS 0.5 or half inch, 65 amp shielded, you can take a look at the feed rate column there. The feed rate used in output will be 30 inches per minute. And then the kerf compensation is different as well. So the basic idea with spreadsheets is ProNest is looking to select a record in this spreadsheet and then apply the settings values based on that. So again, the columns on the left, material, thickness, and class, these are keys used for record matching. And then the section on the right are the actual settings values. In this case, these are cutting parameters because it's a process parameters spreadsheet. Okay, and you can also see that there's a separation sheet at the very bottom here. this page contains the separation values in use on the nest. So the distance between two parts on the nest, the distance between a part and the plate edge, and so on. All right, so that covers the process parameters spreadsheet. Let's close out of here. Process parameters is one of the more complicated spreadsheets, but there are other simpler spreadsheets that we can look at now. So let's take a look at the interior leads spreadsheet. So I have a spreadsheet called out here. That's this XLSX file. Again, just click the edit button to open that in a spreadsheet editor. Okay, and this one's a lot simpler. There are only two keys used for record matching, so material and thickness. This one doesn't use class. And material is set to all asterisks. These are wildcards. So these rows will match to any material type, MS, SS, or AL. So that's mild steel, stainless, and aluminum. All right, so this is just selecting rows based on the thickness. And you can see here that as the thickness increases of the material, the lead length is getting longer. So for instance, corner in scale, that's the size of a straight lead at the corner. For my job, I have 0.025 or 1/4 inch material selected, and the lead length is 0.25. But if I were to change the material for the job to 1 inch thick material, the corner in scale would change to 3/4 of an inch or 0.75. So this gives you an idea of how different lead sizes are applied based on material. So again, we use spreadsheets for that. Note that with any of these settings, you can use defaults. So if you don't want to use spreadsheets, you would just select use default interior leads only. And then the settings values on the actual settings page would be applied for all jobs. So it wouldn't be applied based on material. Let's turn that back on for now. If you need any more information on spreadsheets, like how they work, how to edit them, how record matching works, just refer to the ProNest help. So you can open that by, again, clicking the question mark here or pressing F1. All right, and then each spreadsheet has an allowable list of column headers that you have to follow. So you can find that in here. This just details valid values, the required names for the column headers, and that kind of thing. If you have trouble with this, you can also contact us, and we'll be happy to help you out.